Hey, what up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Golf Parfection podcast. I'm joined here again with James. You've seen him here before a few times. And yeah, we're going to talk about his lesson at the Golf Garage with Matt Soza as a part of the Bay Area Golf Instructor series that I'm starting here. And yeah, if you haven't watched that video, go ahead and take a look. James has rewatched it and, gotten some insights from that. And really, just wanted to pick your brain on, what it's like to take a lesson and, the I guess the aftermath of it all, and whether you've improved or not. So that's kind of the point of the I guess the podcast after the video is released, to more talk about your experiences with that, because I think that's what a lot of people don't really have a lot of access to. So I'll take a lesson and then I say, yeah, I had a good lesson, but then you don't hear about people's experiences a month later about a specific lesson. So that's kind of what that is. So I guess first, James, just to get this out of the way for you, was it worth it?
Oh, for sure. 100%. It was totally worth it. Um, I think I was, I had the first lesson a couple months ago. Just kind of doing my thing, which is basically just going on Instagram and looking at people's swings and seeing what the difference was. But this lesson really helped me kind of put everything into focus a little bit better and, fix some really obvious things that were just, right off the bat that Matt was able to catch.
Yeah. So I think that's what the lesson is for, is, just, squaring yourself away, trying to start breaking away from bad habits that you have developed, and then setting you on the right path to build yourself up to start hitting the ball better. So I think, getting that out of the way definitely was worth it for James. But the problem with golf is that, no matter where you take a lesson from, I feel like your mileage may vary, and sometimes that's kind of the crux of golf, is that if you're trying to get better, you got to find an instructor that fits you well, but then you also have to put the time in and try to take the concepts that instructor taught you and then see if you can apply it and fix your swing in accordance to what that instructor visualizes. So I feel like the first time you took a lesson didn't click as well, but you kind of gained some repetition. And then the video that you guys just saw is James's second lesson, actually. And this one, it actually clicked. I've seen it personally with my own eyes. Definitely improved, right?
Oh, for sure.
Got it.
Yeah.
So I think the question is here is, how much time did you put into your swing after the lesson? So I think I asked this because a lot of people, they take lessons sometimes, and I'm guilty of this, and I don't practice like that much, So I want you to share your experience with that.
Yeah. So the thing with working from home now is,
Wait 1 second. We go like that. Yeah, there you
yeah.
go.
Yeah. So the thing with working from home now is you're home all the time. You want to go out at lunch. You go out at lunch, after work, before work. So right now I'm just kind of going to the range. I'll hit like a medium or a large bucket at lunch every I don't know, every other day, maybe
Sure.
every three
Yeah,
days,
yeah.
maybe back to back to back to back days. Um, yeah, just kind of grinding out those feels. I have my little Rapsodo so I can kind of see what I'm doing and see if the things that I'm trying to do are actually looks that way in real life, even though I might feel it. But yeah, and then we'll go play after work or something once or twice a week to get those on course feels, which are different from the range feels.
Yeah, for sure. So I think, just to clarify, so James, like, I feel like wherever you would have gone to take a lesson, because you put time into your game, you take that extra effort to practice. I think you would succeed in a lot of different instructors, just in my opinion. I mean, Matt's great, I think he teaches really well, but the work ethic you have is definitely outmatches mine. So that being said, I think wherever you go, if you don't put the work in after you get a lesson, unless you're really naturally gifted, it's very hard to just straight up take one lesson, then boom, go to the course, and then it click. And so I think you having to put the time in is just another a sign of that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I should just direct deposit all my money to San Jose Muni because that is definitely where most of my paychecks are going these days.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, you go to the range, you get those swing thoughts, and so before we jump into it more in detail, what after that lesson, what was kind of the main swing thoughts you took away from that?
Yeah, one thing I kind of remembered most was before I was a prolific slicer, And then at some point, I started hooking balls to the left, just dead pulls, draws.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of crazy. Just, whatever Instagram video I watched, I just started hitting everything left. So yeah, it's kind of interesting to see how much then focus that got during our lesson. I think probably half the lesson was spent on trying not to steer the golf ball with my shoulders. After that kind of clicked and I squared it away a little bit, it's pretty amazing. Most of the balls, some of them are still pulled left once I forgot, but yeah, lot straighter. Not as many slices, shanks, balls lost off to the right. Mostly straight now. Yeah, it's kind of
Yeah,
crazy.
I would agree. Like I feel like you're like you said, a prolific slicer of the ball with your irons, and then they would just go nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, dude, with those clubs and your athleticism, like you can't be hitting it that much shorter than me, because you're a better build for this golf swing than I am. And so, you went from, and I hadn't played with you until a while until you got that lesson, and then you started hitting the ball like straight or even with a little draw, and I was like, yeah, this is not the same golfer. So that was kind of cool to see.
Yeah, that lesson was just night and day after, just crazy how much insight you can get off one hour lesson.
Yeah, for sure. So, like from a numbers perspective, did you see any like quantifiable gains like in your swing or?
I think just from like a outside of a numbers perspective, like you mentioned, it was just crazy how many balls were, had a little draw on them, how many were going, to the left. Because before it was just straight to the right slice. It was very normal. But numbers wise, yeah, like for example, like my irons, for example, my 8-iron, it used to be like a 130-ish club on a good day. And then, kind of after the lesson, after things got straightened out a little bit, it was carrying like easily like 140, 150, in excess of 150, I like hit it over a green. So the irons probably just gained like 10, 20 yards and, going straight, I don't know what to
Yeah.
do.
So yeah, like
really messed with my
when you're
gapping.
playing like a slice that's kind of weak and like gets caught into the wind, you're definitely gonna gain yards. Firstly, by just straightening it out, which I think you accomplished. But then secondary to that is that you were kind of squaring the club a little bit more in a more powerful impact position. And that was like that could be like another 10 yards. So like your 20 yards, I do agree with you just playing with you. I'm like, you would pull a club that you would normally pull on a par three and you would, go over by 20 yards.
Yep.
So you've definitely picked up some better impact positions and better contact to the ball, which could make all the difference because I think the speed was always there. You were swinging the ball, you were swinging the club just as hard, and the numbers like the ball speed and like the club head speed was the same. But just straightening that out, that's already yardage.
Yeah, it was just 45 degrees, face closed to the ball over the top. The yard, it just wasn't going anywhere.
Got it. So I guess my question is then, and you guys can watch this lesson obviously, but after you kind of watched back on it, I made you do some homework and watch it back. Was there anything that, you're like, oh yeah, I didn't remember that, because you got a lot of information, or was it pretty much you felt like representative of what you got for that day?
Yeah, no, I think two things for me. One was the hinge, the wrist hinge.
Okay.
Before the lesson, somehow I thought I was Colin Morikawa or Dustin Johnson. I was just with the bowed wrist.
The bowed wrist thing.
Thought it was so cool. It looked really cool in some of those videos, but after we got the lesson, it kind of made me realize just how hard those guys have to swing to square the club face like that. For just an average guy like you or me, it's not really easily repeatable or replicable. You can't really.
Well, they're able to turn their hips so far through that they're able to utilize that bow in the wrist to where it's square when they come through. But if you're not turning as hard as them through the ball, your club face is going to be shut. And you're just going to hit it to the left.
Exactly. And I'm kind of a dum-dum, so I can only think of one or two swing thoughts at once. Putting that all together every time, that's hard.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so that was one thing, the wrist hinge. I know there was a big section on the takeaway that Matt was trying to fix for you. And then anything else?
The only other thing I kind of forgot about was he kind of set up an alignment stick behind me. And, the goal was to swing under that
Mm.
on the takeaway and coming through the ball. Um, I kind of forgot how many swings we took, and with that setup there, and how many times I didn't whack the crap out of it, which I thought for sure with my usual over the top move I would do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I kind of stopped thinking about that a little bit. So I'm definitely going to go back and or go out to the range and try to make sure I'm still under, coming from the inside, not too far over the top.
Right, right, right.
Yeah, no, I kind of shocked me how many swings we made with that thing set up there and how few times it got destroyed.
Yeah, and I actually like so the 45 or so 40-minute or so lesson that I put up there for people to watch. That wasn't the full. I had to pare it down or like no one would watch it. It'd be too long. So like there was even more swings than that. But yeah, I try to highlight the most important things, and that's what I'll do in future videos with other instructors as well, whether it's myself or we have someone else come and take a lesson. And ultimately, like I said, it's a good way to, yeah, because other than my word of mouth referral to you, like trying to find an actual golf instructor, it's not. I mean, it is pretty straightforward just finding someone, but then knowing what you're getting into is hard to know.
Yeah, I think otherwise I probably would have just went to the guy at San Jose Muni, and who knows, maybe he's really good. I don't
Yeah,
know.
exactly. And the
But
thing is, that's the hard thing of it. It always comes down to the crux of it is that a golf instructor, and then the golf instructor can be like Butch Harmon, right? But if you don't jive with the methodologies that he's trying to teach, you know, that's why not every single golfer in the world goes to Butch Harmon, right? Like it's just like it's very difficult to find all those synergies to make it work for your swing. And I'm glad that you have seen improvements. I mean, barring that, you're starting from a level to which you can realize more gains to maybe someone who, for me, who's kind of been like swinging the same swing for, 20 years or whatever. But yeah, I personally have seen, improvements with my swing and consistency. But yeah, like I said, I needed practice more. So, but yeah, that being said, I guess my next question to you about all this is, did you think that the timing was correct for this second lesson? I think for the first lesson, I kind of pushed you into it, made you get that lesson, and then maybe it was like a little too early. But what about your experience for the second one?
thinking back, I probably would have gone in a little bit earlier. Because
Okay.
the first things we worked on was takeaway, right? And that's pretty basic. Like if you can get your take, now I see that if you get your takeaway squared away, you put your club in a much better position. It makes
Sure.
the whole swing so much easier. Um, yeah, like God knows how many rounds and range sessions we had while the club was coming inside or just all out of whack.
Right. I think you had like an upper
Uh,
body rotation without your lower body, right? Instead of one piece, it was kind of all arms, and then you like try to move your arms.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
yeah.
And I caught up eventually, but it just made it so much harder than it needed to be, and just not very consistent.
Right.
Yeah, no, I think all the things we worked on that day, nothing out of this world difficult or very specific, just kind of basic things, which kind of makes the point to me that maybe I should have gone in earlier and fix some of these more basic things that make a big difference.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, since you grind at the range, like, I feel like it's like you're undoing a lot of those sessions, right? Like, because you put a lot of time in, and I feel like it's harder to kind of undo those. But like I said, again, to the point, like, it all really depends. Maybe if
Hmm.
you would have gone in a couple months earlier, it would have made a pretty big difference. But honestly, like, who knows? Like I feel like there's no perfect time for you to start getting lessons. And I've seen it through you because the first time I thought it was too early. The second time I thought maybe it was a little too late. But the point is now that you're going and you know, you definitely have improved, but you're kind of trusting Matt, your instructor, who you've now identified as the person responsible for your swing. You've put some trust into that system, and you're practicing it with
Yeah.
it. I think that's the most important thing. Like, unfortunately, like in my opinion, you can maybe give your opinion here. Like when you get into golf instructor, you're gonna have to take at least a couple lessons and really trust what they're doing, and actually go and practice it to really evaluate if this is something that is good for you and your goals. I mean, I'm not sure what your goals are. My goals are going to be a little different too, but I think that's how you should approach finding a golf instructor, right? Like what's your take on that? Like,
Yeah, yeah, it's just hard to say, like I guess for me, I've only had one instructor, so
Sure,
it's
sure.
it's hard for me to give real feedback. But yeah, like every swing I've come to realize is so unique. It's you can't really create. There's no real perfect swing out there. It's whatever works for you, and you know if your instructor helps you get there in a way that you can easily digest and you see improvement, then I think that's the best instructor for you. You know, kind of what you were saying.
Right, yeah. And if you're very clear and like about your goals, like, oh, I just want to improve my swing and like I want to be able to shoot this, the instructor should be able to build you along that way. And like I've talked to Matt and other instructors on a podcast, and they were like, yeah, set realistic expectations out of all this. So if you're gonna just come in, every once in a while and get a tune up, we're just gonna give you the minimal basics to get you around on the course and have a fun time. But we're not gonna change too much to build you, or break you down and build you up into like the most ideal vision of their own swing. We're just gonna like kind of tweak what you have and let you go out on your own kind of thing. But I think you're more in the boat where like, yeah, let's like take what you have, identify the issues, start guiding you along the path of this journey for multiple lessons and get you like to whatever goals you aspire to. And that being said, like what are your swing goals actually?
Swing goals. Oh, so many swing goals. So
Or
many
like or
swing
just
thoughts.
like golf goals, like in
Yeah.
general.
I think I've already accomplished, one of my goals, which is be able to get on a course and not look like a total amateur.
Yeah.
Um, Had some, we have fun out there. Keep up with you guys now.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I think that was just kind of the main goal, right? Just get out and have fun. And part of that having fun was being good enough at golf to, not have to worry about how bad I'm going to be on the course at any given
Right.
point.
No, yeah, that's fair. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but now that I'm into it, it's kind of like, well, I wonder how good I can get. But I'm not saying I'm going to go pro or anything.
No, yeah,
That'd
yeah, sure.
that'd be wild. But for now, I think just start shooting under 90 consistently. Just get into the 80s, meaning I don't lose too many balls and don't chunk every other shot, and just little goals.
Yeah, I mean that's great to have. So, and I feel like your work ethic with going to the range stuff, that's definitely attainable. Like I rely solely on like getting a swing here or two, and then like my 20 years of, or however many years I've been playing golf, to shoot in the 80s. But even when I started back up, it wasn't like I was shooting close to 100. I was shooting mid 90s when I started back up, and it took a while to get back to a consistent state. And then like for you, like, yeah, I feel like you definitely have what it takes to that. So, yeah, I guess my other question would be then, like, so back to this, Bay Area golf instructor series, like for Matt Sosa specifically, like, what did you like, or what do you like? I mean, that in terms of how he gives lessons.
Yeah, so he has the TrackMan set up. So I do like how he, we'll just pull up video on like every other shot, and it's easy for him to kind of point out, in video, so it's more you can visualize it more, exactly what's wrong, and what can be improved and what's working. I think for me specifically, it was pretty obvious to see. Like I was stuck on my back foot, so we could just point that out, or position of the club face and the takeaway, little things like that. I think he's really good. He's makes really good use out of the TrackMan tools, and then he's very creative, I think, with the props and all those different aids and gadgets that he has, like the pool noodles, alignment sticks. He's got his own patent pending kind of tools that he's created
Yeah.
to
Yep,
visualize some of the swing thoughts. So I think he's very resourceful, to kind of get his point across on what he's trying to teach you.
Yeah, I would agree. So like I've taken lessons from Matt as well, and I think what I like about him is that like if you're not getting something, I've talked about this with Matt specifically, is that he'll firstly, identify the things where he needs fixing, and then he'll go through a Rolodex of ways of telling you the same thing and waiting for it to click before he moves to the next next concept that he's trying to teach you. So I saw that in your lesson. He's trying to, like, your takeaway. He introduced the red ball.
Hmm.
He had like tape on your shoulders or something,
Yeah,
or like
the tee and the butt of
the
the
tee in the
club.
butt of the club, and he's just firing away, firing away, firing away until something clicked, and then he's like, okay, I feel like you got the takeaway better. Now we can move to the exit or the follow through, and so then boom, he Rolodexed it there, and like he gave a ton of pieces of information for you to try to get it down. And I think that's really good. And like you said, he's really good at using the TrackMan. So almost to the point where like I don't want to take a lesson with an instructor who doesn't have TrackMan. But that's just I think that tool is he definitely knows how to use it. So that being said, like what about areas of improvement? Not to like criticize or anything, or any feedback for Matt. Like I know you've only taken 2 lessons, but what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's not even maybe feedback for Matt specifically. It's more of just how I could better digest a lesson. I think after both the lessons, it kind of took like maybe a day or two for it to really click on what he was saying, and the how the body should relate to what he's trying to tell me. I think like I said, we spent half the lesson trying not to steer the shoulders. It just didn't really click for me at first. I should have probably just asked, like, what do you mean don't steer the shoulders? But then after the lesson, probably just the very next day, I was like, oh, you idiot, don't steer the shoulders. And then I
Sure.
went back to the range, and it was just dead. Everything just went dead straight. And that's still kind of one of my big swing thoughts.
Okay.
Making sure not to steer. So yeah, I think it's just more of like making sure I really understand what he's saying, and what I should be doing. Like my shoulders shouldn't just turn this way, turn this way. Just little things to make sure I really comprehend and can apply what he's trying to say. Because there, all the tools, all the props are great, but then you take those away, and then it's like,
It's kind of hard.
Yeah.
Right. And I know he tries to provide you like tools that both that you would need if you practice there or if you practice at the range. I think the tee and the butt of the club was being one. But yeah, and the lineman 6 on the ground, kind of. But then he had that pool noodle one, which you
Yeah.
don't have, right? So it's a little tough there. But I think he also gives you a lot of drills, and like I think one thing like that 1 2 3 drill, like try to hit that one first, like half, like or a quarter of the way, and then get better, and then hit it half swing, and then a full swing. I think he teaches that for almost every lesson. Like for me too, he had like building up to that 100% swing. So that's something you can do at the range. But yeah, I think it's been really great. I think for me personally, this not then it's the same thing. Not feedback on Matt really, but just for myself. Like if you were to take a lesson from Matt, like definitely like write down a lot of things, and then write your takeaways, and then I think ask questions. Like you said, you would have wish you would have asked questions. I think like he's trying to give as much information in that 1 hour, which is great. But then sometimes it doesn't leave room to like, and if you're shy too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like to ask a question like, okay, I know you were talking about steering shoulders, like in your quiz, but can I show you what I think that means and tell me if I'm wrong or right? And like maybe if you would have asked that question, you would have gotten it a little quicker. But I think that's a feedback just in general if you take lessons from anyone.
Yeah, exactly. It can be intimidating, right? Like you're just this guy taking a lesson, and you're like, well, what do you mean? You don't want to look dumb and be like, oh no, I know what this means, but it's okay to ask. I think it's how you get better. And Matt's a super nice guy, and he probably has, like you said, a whole Rolodex of ways to kind of reinforce the same thing again. So yeah, I've definitely asked more questions.
Yeah, yeah. And I think over time, you can start building that relationship to where you can like, send a video or two. Like he's always offered that to me, but I've never done it personally. I don't know if you have. But yeah, he's always like, he was always looking out for you. He's like, oh yeah, send a video of your swing if you're like in what you're doing, and he can try to help you through that. Only so much you can do through that medium, but he's definitely really good about being open and available. But that being said, he's pretty hard to book these days because he's gone full time, and which is great for him. He's doing something he's really passionate about. But trying to get a lesson with him is, you have to kind of do it pretty far, like a couple of weeks in advance now. I used to be able to just go, on a whim, but now that's not the case. So, I guess like the last kind of thing are like, what do you have like any specific plans now for your game? Like, or is it like take another lesson, or is it just like work on what you have and then try to break a milestone? Like what's the plan?
Yeah, I think just overall, being able to visualize a shot like on the course, saying like, oh, I need to maybe hit it this far at to this point and be able to do it, and like that's just hitting the ball straight. It's not even considering like shot shaping at all. Like, can I hit a cut on demand? Can I hit a draw on demand? To me, that's pretty advanced stuff if you can just do that when you want to. So for me right now, it's just getting on the course and visualizing a shot and being able to actually execute without chunking or doing the
Sure.
exact opposite of what I was looking to do. And if I can do that, then my overall goal to have more fun playing golf and just enjoy myself is easily obtainable.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think you're transitioning now from just like getting around on the course, which was like for the first goal. And now it's like kind of actually like scoring.
Yeah, it's
You're
like
kind of in that like I want to be able to do XYZ and I want to be able to get XYZ result on this shot. I think you're past the like, okay, I'm just worried that I'm not going to advance the ball to where you're thinking about course management and then like using your swing that you have to shoot a number.
exactly. Now it's like, no, I don't have to go for the green from 250 out because I think I can do it. I wonder if I can make a birdie or par here and, just score a little bit lower without having having a unfortunate incident with the ball and
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean that being said, I mean, hope you're enjoying this series and this, I guess sub series of podcasts where I won't be talking with everyone obviously who takes a lesson because maybe that person I won't have access to them like I have James, or they won't be comfortable to be on a podcast. But basically, what's going to happen is, we'll have a lesson shot and filmed with another instructor, and either I'll break down a recap myself if that person's not comfortable on being on the podcast, or I'll interview that person and at least share those interview questions and answers with you on this podcast. So stick around for that. If you want more James content, there is some coming. Maybe, I don't know if you're comfortable. We'll think of other things to do. We were doing a match series, but I think that was when your swing was consistent, but of that pre Matt Soza swing. Like it was like
Yeah.
very consistently like heavy slice fade, and we were able to film match that way with strokes. But I think we can get back to doing that with the same amount of strokes. Now you're like definitely more consistent, and we can either do that, or if you want to, some people DM me like, hey, can we like have more James content? I'm like, y'all don't want to see me
I'm a
anymore. You want to
celebrity,
see other
y'all.
people. Yeah, you always want to see James because I think people think, I mean, they see people like us and we're more relatable to like, instead of like the Bryan brothers, that shoot par or better every time, So because I think, the reality is that we represent like 95% of the people who are out there. So that being said, I think that was the main thing. Like I said, more instructors to come, some James content to come out as well. So hope you guys enjoy that one. Keep chasing, and we'll see you in the next one.